What's happening, gang? It's your boy Retro, back again with another reaction video. Today we got Donald Trump calling in on the Glenn Beck show with his final warning, going out to the deep state. I'm excited to check this one out, especially because we don't really get, I feel like we don't get a lot of Trump on radio shows, and we really haven't heard much from Trump following his most recent case being brought up about on, I think it was Fulton County on racketeering, and they released his mugshot. So I'm excited to see how he's feeling and how confident his corner is feeling about the cases that have been brought about against him. So we're gonna hop straight into it and see what he had to say. Make sure you guys like this video. Before we get into it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Yo, let's get into it, y'all.
The by far front runner for the Republican nomination and the most persecuted man in, I believe, American history, the former president of the United States, President Donald Trump. Welcome to the program, sir. How are you?
Well, thank you, Glenn. I'm fine. Okay. I'm fine. You're probably right about that. Sadly, the most persecuted.
Yeah, you are.
I've never heard it put quite as succinctly, but it's probably true.
So let me ask you, you've seen the deep state. We now all know what you saw was true and deeper than I think any of us knew. They've weaponized everything. They are serious about trying to put you in prison. Can I ask, will you and can you run a campaign from a jail cell?
Well, I don't think that's ever happening. We have a great case. Every case is a scam. This is just like Russia. Remember, I was going to be guilty with Russia. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, with 18 radical Democrats and Bob Mueller, the Mueller report said there was no collusion. Everyone had a heart attack. And then they started Ukraine. Then they started lying on Pfizer reports. These are bad people. These are sick people. And now we have the biggest lead I've ever had. The debate, I actually went up after the debate, as you know. We did your friend Tucker's interview, and he had 261 million people, which is an all-time record. Yeah. So when you say, I didn't do a debate, I actually didn't do a debate, but I had 261 million people listening versus 11 million, which they had, which was one of the lowest-rated debates. So I went up fairly substantially after that, and I think the fake indictment that they did in Georgia was very helpful, and then they insisted on a mugshot, and somehow it turned out to be very iconic.
I have to tell you, I don't know how you do it every day. I really don't. I would have lost my mind a long time ago. You said in 2016, lock her up, and then when you became president, you said, we don't do that in America. That's just not the right thing to do. That's what they're doing. Do you regret not locking her up? And if you're president again, will you lock people up?
Well, I'll give you an example. The answer is you have no choice because they're doing it to us. I always had such great respect for the office of the president, the presidency, but the office of the president, and I never hit Biden as hard as I could have. And then I heard he was trying to indict me, and it was him that was doing it. You know, I don't think he's sharp enough to think about much, but he was there, and he was probably the one giving the order. But he was, hard to believe that he even thinks about that because he's gone. But then I said, well, they're actually trying to indict me because every one of these indictments is him, including Bragg. Bragg put his top people. I don't know if you know this. He put his top person into the office of the Manhattan District Attorney. They've been in total coordination with Fannie Willis. The woman that I never met that they accused me of rape, that's being run by a Democrat operative and paid for by the Democrat Party. So many of these things. I have a couple of other lawsuits, all funded against me by the Democrat Party. These are sick people. These are evil people. And it's an amazing thing. We talk about the public. The public is smarter than anyone can imagine because they understand what's happening. It's really actually driven. I was doing very well before this stuff, but it's really driven my poll numbers up. And you look at these, that basically they're saying I don't have a right to challenge an election. And I did something, and I have to get it to you immediately yesterday, where we put in all of the Democrats over the last 15, 20 years that have been challenging elections. And this tape, the problem is it would go on for 2 hours.
Yeah. We have 25 minutes of it. I mean, it's crazy.
You got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Did you get that from me? Did my office send that in?
I don't know. I don't remember where we. Do you remember,
good.
Stu?
But
we have it, and we've played it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's
incredible. It does.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop.
No.
I mean, it doesn't stop. It just keeps going and going.
So,
and much nastier. I mean, I'm like a kind person by comparison. They're calling for death.
I know.
Maxine Waters is crazy. She's like a crazy lunatic. The way she talks about people, go into restaurants and beat them up and things. You know, her statements are just unbelievable. But a lot of them are unbelievable, and nobody talks about them. Hillary Clinton, who called up and conceded the night of the election, and a week later she started saying that she won the election. Not that she said, I didn't win. I didn't win. You know, it's all done. And then she made up the Russia hoax. And then after 2 years, I won that. And then they go into Ukraine. No, these are sick people.
I know.
But the public gets it. They get it almost as well as you do. I don't think anybody gets it.
So, Mr. President, we have so many problems. I got a call from a Democrat just last week, and she said, Glenn, I'm thinking about voting for a Republican, and I'm still a Democrat. She said, but I'm on a fixed income. I know for a fact what I used to have in my pocket at the end of every month is now not even there at the end of every week. They are hurting. People feel like the republic is over. A lot of people look at what's going on and say, this can't last. Can you give people hope that change can happen and you can bring things back, a republic and an economy?
So, Glenn, I can. Look, we had this running until COVID, 2.5 years. It was the greatest economy in the history of the world. Everybody was happy. African Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans, women, men, people with diplomas from MIT and people with no diplomas from high school. Everybody was happy. And frankly, I was getting calls from people on the left and even the radical left, get together. This country was coming together. Then we got hit with COVID. We did a great job with COVID. It has never been acknowledged, but it will be in history. We did a great job with the ventilators and all the things we did because nobody knew what it was. Nobody had any clue as to what it was. And we did a great job. And when we handed it back over after a terrible, terrible election, I mean, they used COVID, they cheated. Even if you just go by what they did with legislators and legislatures, what they did with the consent decree in Georgia, the signing of that consent decree was by Raffensperger and the governor. The signing of that consent decree was the end of Georgia. That was the beginning of the end. And then when Doug Collins didn't get in, instead of picking, you would have had Purdue, you would have had Collins. It would have been like a routine thing.
But if you look at those things,
Georgia was so badly hurt. But the signing of that consent decree, and frankly, going around legislatures and not getting approvals and running these elections the way they ran them was a disgrace. But don't forget, I got more votes than any sitting president in history by far, by millions.
I know.
And it's a very, very sad thing that happened to us.
So let me ask you, because you talk about what has happened in the past. I look at the GOP, the head of the chair of the RNC tweeted on the day that you had the mugshot, her excitement for the convention to come to Houston in 2028. They're not. I mean, the GOP is not at their post. And Wisconsin, Georgia, Pennsylvania, the GOP has not been changing the things that happened last time in the election. They haven't shored those up. How do we ensure that we have a real election if the GOP won't do anything?
Yeah, you're not wrong. Look, I've been complaining they're not tough enough. The Democrats are dirty players. They lie, they cheat. What they did was unbelievable with ballots, with every conceivable form of cheating. And that includes, if you think, even the FBI. How about the FBI Twitter? Then you have the DOJ and Facebook, and you have all of these things that happened. And it was incredible what they did. And they used COVID to do it. But, I'll tell you, my two questions that I'm asked most often is, the first is, how do you take it? How do you live? How do you take it? And I get that asked from very successful people like you, but I get that asked by the most successful people that have been tough and smart. They say, could I ask you something, President? How do you take it? And I take it because I take it. You know, I mean, I sometimes say, do I have a choice? These people are crazy. But, you know, I've been taking it from the day I came down the escalator. You know, they made up that Russia hoax when I went up to number one in the polls. You know, if I wasn't polling, if I were doing in fourth place like almost everybody, you know, they're all gone. The Republicans are all gone. They're way down. DeSanctimony is a very disloyal guy. He's so far down. I think he's probably not even going to be in second place much longer. But I'm 40, 50 points ahead of all the Republicans. But they say, how do you take it? The fact that there's such love of what we stand for, and what we stand for is a great economy, strong borders, all of it's going to come back. The hardest thing to cure is going to be the millions and millions of people that they allowed into our country.
Yeah,
they allow millions of people. And Glenn, these are people from prisons, from jails. These are people from mental institutions, and you can call them insane asylums, which is a step above. These are the people that they're allowing into our country, and they're terrorists. There are terrorists coming into our country, and they're just walking in, and they're totally, nobody knows who they are, what they are, where they are. It's what they're doing to our country is either a death wish. They're not stupid, because anybody that could cheat that way in elections is not stupid. But what they are is, I believe they might hate our country. They have to.
You think they might? They might hate our country.
No, and who can want open borders?
Right. I know.
Who can want no voter ID? You know, they have a thing for voter ID. They fight voter ID viciously. Why don't you want voter ID? Because you want to cheat. And if you think about it, they have to cheat. Because who's going to vote for open borders, high taxes, high interest rates, bad economy, weak military, woke military, believe it or not? You know, I defeated ISIS with our military. I did it in 4 weeks. I took out ISIS. I was told by certain generals that are television generals it would take years. And I flew to Iraq, and I came back with some incredible information. And I knocked out ISIS in 4 weeks. You know, our military is incredible. They don't get the credit. But then you see in Afghanistan, I was all forgetting that. I'm the one that got the troops down.
I know.
But you have to keep Bagram, and you have to take our soldiers out last, not first. What they did is so horrible. And I believe it was the lowest point in the history of our country. What happened, that withdrawal, the way they withdrew from Afghanistan was the lowest in the history of our country. But we'll bring it back.
Okay,
so bring back the economy. And we're going to bring back the strong border.
Last question. You said that you weren't going, but you would be watching the debate for a vice president. Have you thought of Vice President Ramaswamy?
Well, I think he's great. Look, anybody that said I'm the best president in a generation, I don't know, you'll have to define generation, but it's a long time. And
he said, if he toots my horn, man, he's good in my book.
He said it a couple of times, and he said it in 100 years. So I have to like a guy like that. You know, I can't get upset with him, but he's a smart guy. He's a young guy. He's got a lot of talent. He's a very, very intelligent person. He's got good energy, and he could be in some form of something. I tell you, I think he'd be very good. I think he's very good. I think he's really distinguished himself. He's starting to get out there a little bit. He's getting a little bit controversial. I got to tell him, be a little bit careful, because some things you have to hold in just a little bit, right? But he's got a lot of good energy, I will tell you, and he's been very nice to me, and you know, most of them have, other than Christie. Don't forget, Christie left with an 8% approval rating.
Oh yeah, it was horrible.
And he was tied up in Bridgegate. The whole thing. It was a mess. He was a disaster.
It was amazing how there is the new generation and the old generation of Republicans that just seem to be completely out of touch with what time it is.
No.
So
they don't get it.
Yeah.
They don't. And Mitch McConnell, I mean, Mitch has to go. He's given them trillions of dollars that he could have stopped. You know, now they're campaigning on the fact that they have trillions of dollars. That was given by Mitch and 10 of his people that voted as he demanded that they vote. And, you know, it's not that he's a leader. He raises a lot of money and he gives it to senators.
Yeah, no.
And it's sort of like he buys his leadership. It's
exactly
terrible.
Right.
But he gave them all of this Green New Deal money. and it's probably $9 trillion if you add it up. And it's like throwing it out the window. It's a horrible thing, and it does cause inflation, but it's like throwing it out the window. It's a horrible thing.
President Donald Trump, thank you very much, sir. We pray for you. Millions of Americans stand behind you, and I hope more and more Americans wake up to the circus that we've turned our country into with this persecution of you. But thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, and we're going to make America great again. You watch. It's going to happen fast. It's going to happen fast, and I appreciate it very much. And you're a brave voice. You are a very brave voice and have been for a long time.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, Glenn.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Yo, there you have it. Glenn Beck, Donald Trump. I think that was an interview a phone call that we definitely need to hear. It sounds like President Trump is still in good spirits. It sounds like his corner is actually pretty confident that they will be able to combat off these indictments. He says they're all, kind of related to freedom of speech. And it's kind of dates back to when they brought up the collusion with Russia back in 2020. He says this will all blow away. I'll be fine. They won't be erased from jail. I will be on the free world, or I will be in the free world, I should say, campaigning. I feel like this is definitely refreshing to see, Donald Trump with such high hopes for America. And I think I heard Glenn Beck ask, like, how do you do it? How do you still come forth and put your best foot forth every day? With all that's coming after you, so many cases being brought about, and people that really want to see your downfall. What keeps you going? What's your drive? And I think I heard President Trump say that he stands for the people. He stands for America. He says he wants to, get America back to that state that he had it at when he was in office. He says we're moving to a bad point, especially with the migrant crisis. He says there's no way that we can, argue border control if the southern border is still open. I'm very excited to see in the months coming how Trump's corner kind of combats what's being thrown at them. Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to the truth, on the road to bigger and better. Hop aboard. I'll catch you guys on the next one. We go.